Welcome to the Majoration Podcast. This episode is sponsored by the Wine Ranch in Old Town Marietta. Great drinks, great food, great vibe. Now enjoy the episode. Everyone, welcome to another episode of the Majoration Podcast. Today I have another special guest with me. We're going to be talking about all things inspirational, aspirational, and motivational. Without further ado, Kate, welcome to the Majoration Podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm glad that you reached out. Obviously, as you mentioned, we've been kind of following each other on social media, seeing some of the things that you've been doing as far as being a creator and being a producer and things of that nature. How has that journey been and how's that going for you so far?
Up and down. It's such an unpredictable field, as you may know. I'm like obsessed with the logistical production, not so much the creative. So when I'm like not physically on set, it breaks my heart, and which is something that we're experiencing now. It's a little bit slow in LA. I've been traveling. I just got back from Turkey and Russia, so I'm just trying to stay busy while prepping some shows, but production is always up and down. And after COVID and strikes, and there's always like all these bumps to overcome, but yeah, I don't want to do anything else.
No, that's fantastic. Well, walk us through memory lane. Like, give me a little brief backdrop in regards to your upbringing and how did you gravitate towards production and movie, and when did you fall in love with it?
I've been involved in the entertainment since I was very little. My mother is a singer, author, producer. She's kind of led this bohemian lifestyle when I was growing up. So I just remember seeing all these cool people around me, artists, and thinking to myself, oh, okay, like this is something I like seeing. Like I like the vibe. Everyone seems to be like working and busy, but they're all looking very stylish and relaxed. And it's kind of like an eclectic artistic vibe. So ever since I was little, we kind of got involved in, like what kids do, dancing and acting and all kinds of like little sketches and comedy and stuff like that. So as I was growing up surrounded by all this entertainment slash acting theater lifestyle, just eventually led me to producing because I think personally I'm a Virgo and I'm very like organized, specific. I like structure. I like rules. I like managing things. I like my tasks. I like to get things done. So, just being an actor or just kind of following someone else's agenda was not enough for me. I think just I had more ambition. And just, I don't know, I don't want to sound too selfish or controlling, but it's nice to have a little more power when you're on set. So I kind of organically happened to start producing little by little, just kind of helping my friends out, co-producing, helping do casting, locations, and then eventually having my own productions and running it as an executive producer or just a producer.
That's fantastic. For people who may not know, like what is the role of a producer? Obviously, there's co-producers, there are producers. Of course, I come from that industry, but for the anyone that's watching that doesn't necessarily know, like what is the role of a producer?
I love this question because I think it's so misrepresented. I think if you're not working in the industry, you kind of automatically think that producer is someone who like finances the thing. I think it comes maybe like from the music industry and it's kind of clashing. When I talk to people who don't have anything to do with production, that's what they typically think, that you're in charge of like making sure there's money in the bank, which is not necessarily true. I think just a regular producer, like what I mostly do, you're kind of managing the show. I usually get involved and like at a very early stage of production. So starting with development of the story and the creative and the script, um, from zero, which is development and pre-production, all the way to distribution. You have to oversee basically everything, make sure that it's done on time and on the budget, and hopefully everyone has a good time while they're doing it and they want to come back and work with you again. Um, I like it. Yeah, I like all the stages. I like how it's layered. You become a family, and as a producer, it's kind of your job to be there to calm everyone down when it's because it's always hectic and stuff always comes up that is not expected. You're dealing with a lot of people and personalities. Obviously, directors and like strong creative minds never agree with each other. So there's a lot of mitigation of that. A lot of just like logistical things that you wouldn't expect to deal with, depending on the creative. Sometimes we deal with water, sometimes we deal with bad weather, sometimes it's like large pieces of equipment or planes or all kinds of like legal regulations. So yeah, you kind of have to just immerse yourself in this crazy chaos and try to come out on the other way,
That's true.
on the
So
other side.
you're basically wearing many hats, right? Just like a fireman putting out fires and just whatever you can do to just make sure everything is running smoothly, right? Here's going on, guys. Major here. Real quick story. I remember some years ago, I was talking to one of my mentors, and I was frustrated because I didn't have any money. Things were tough. I was struggling. I was in survival mode, and he looked at me very calmly with this smirk on his face, and he said, "Learn how to sell. If you learn how to sell, you will never struggle again in your life, or you won't be without for long if you learn how to sell." And one of the ways to become the best salesperson is to learn the art of communication. Master communication and being effective in that particular role, you would never want for anything. And that blew my mind. So that was 17 years ago. And from that conversation, I went on to make millions of dollars just having the ability to sell. And I want to show people the process that I put in place that I still use today that has allowed me to continue to sell and communicate at a very high level. So without further ado, so we can get back to the episode, click on the link. It's in the description section. It's called Activate Your Voice 101, and it's going to walk you through my process. It's also going to qualify you for a 30-minute strategy call one-on-one session with me. So I look forward to seeing you on the other side, and stay motivated.
Lots of hats, but I think yeah, it's just such a teamwork. So
Yeah.
you have to be aware of everything that's happening, but you also have to be able to just let it go and trust that you got the right people in place to do their part. It otherwise you'll just go insane. It's a lot of responsibility, and as much as like producers like to control things and make sure that everything's done, you just it's fun when you start out and it's like your first couple of shows and you're just like you don't sleep, you don't eat, and it's exciting and you kind of like feed off of that energy. But when you do it for like years and years and years, I think it's important to delegate, and it naturally does happen because you try working with different people, you eventually end up having a team of friends or very trustworthy producers and co-producers that you can just trust in their support. So I've been very lucky to work with people who are there for me and for the project, and you can just kind of always step away and not necessarily have to like control every little thing.
So most recently, I guess when we were in contact once before, you were letting me know about the Netflix film that's, the film that you did that's on Netflix currently. How's that going and what is the name of it? Tell us about it. I still didn't get a chance to go and watch it yet, so I apologize, but I will put it on my playlist to go and check it out.
It's on Amazon Prime. I think it's the
Okay.
TV show because the show that I have coming out on Netflix is not out yet, and I don't
Okay.
think I can talk about it. But
Maybe
same,
maybe maybe you
it's all
said
out there. There are all
you
these
said Amazon.
platforms
Maybe you
and
said Amazon.
yeah. So last year we produced a show. It's called 60 Day Hustle. It's on Amazon Prime right now. It's the first season. It's kind of the Are you familiar with Shark Tank?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you remember the show Shark Tank, it's kind of like these established business that's already like had some sort of like experience basically, but the more we explored this idea before developing the show, basically it becomes apparent that a lot of businesses don't even know how to get to that level because it's very hard in the very beginning. So like what's the step zero before you get to like having clientele, having sales, having all this success or like an established marketing strategy. So that's what the show is about. Basically, we found these beginner level business owners of all kinds of different fields, and it's getting them through this 60-day program to basically elevate significantly their business and their ideas. It's on Amazon. I personally thought it was one of the best things that I've ever been involved in because it's reality. I watch reality myself. I like it as a genre, and producing it was very fun because you kind of have to write some of it on the go and make changes because it's just unpredictable. It's happening as you film it. There's obviously some structure. It's a competition show, so producers and writers and directors had to kind of have an outline skeleton of where creatively the story is going, but you have to make constant changes, and that was very dynamic and fun. And we're gearing up to do the second season hopefully as soon as after the holidays. I'm assuming it's already November, so time flies.
Congratulations on that second season. When it comes to movies, categorically, what would you say is your favorite genre of movie currently today?
I mean, news. I watch a lot of news. I don't think I currently today, as of like, November 2024, I'm really fascinated with everything that's happening in the political sphere. Personally, I've always been interested in that, and I find it entertaining. I know that a lot of people can kind of, I mean, I'm from Russia, so you can assume the amount of like political heaviness that we have to deal with. Plus, I live in the States, and with the election, there's all kinds of like ups and downs, and people have different opinions, and let that affect them. I'm a little different. I do think it's as much important as it is entertaining. So I've been very involved in following what was happening here in the States. And yeah, I mean, it's to sit down at the end of the day and watch a movie. I don't necessarily want to do that after like working, producing movies all day. I kind of like to just, oh, let me just catch up on the news and watch a couple of podcasts and just to stay relevant. I don't like ignorance. I don't like when people are ignorant to the exact situation that's happening around them. I think we owe it to LA, to the country, to ourselves, to our friends, to our families to kind of like stay in touch, have an opinion. So yeah, I have to confess, I just watch a lot of news.
I wouldn't have expected that answer, but I get it. I get it. But is there a specific actor that you would want to work with in the future that's on like your bucket list? Is there like one or two actors that you would like be like, man, I've been waiting for this moment?
Well, yeah, I'm the 90s kid, so I would still like to um end up on the same set with like actors like Edward Norton, for example. Fight Club is one of my favorite films, one of my favorite books. I think it's so fun, dynamic, and badass what they shot and talked about back then and how it's relevant now and the performance. So I'm a big Edward Norton fan. I like Anthony Hopkins. I'm kind of, yeah, like my creative inspirations are still back in the 90s, I think.
So in the entertainment industry, it can be sometimes very exhilarating and exciting, but it can also be a lot of stress. What kind of outlets have you plugged into to kind of decompress, to kind of find that meditative state? What are some of the things that you do on your off time to kind of reset and refocus and realign yourself?
I'm really glad you asked that because I don't think I would have been able to keep such a fun, like calm approach and enjoy what I do so much if I didn't also do my work in the gym and, that self work that you need to discipline yourself to do, to just sweat out the day sometimes, like an intense gym session is what I do. Especially in Los Angeles, we live here, the weather is so nice throughout the year. So I do breath work in the morning. I have my routines. I do breath work in the morning. I go to the gym almost every night. And then I just, if I can, I go out on a hike, I go out on a walk. I I like pretty intense like sweating sessions just because I do think that if you put your physical body through some sort of a heat stress exercise, then it kind of makes your mind more flexible and relaxed, which is an obvious and natural thing that happens to us. But we are so tense and so stressed with the jobs that we do. I don't think people do it enough. I do think it's important to move, just because it does boost up your happy state in your head. And there's a lot of stressors out there. So yeah, sauna suit, gym, breath work, good people, good food. Yeah, very like basic, calm um, hobbies I like, but you kind of have to remind yourself that um, you zoom out. It's important to zoom out because, I can be producing this tiny little TV show in Burbank and be so stressed about it. But if you just take a step back, there are so many things that we can do and should be doing, like family, like raising kids, like staying healthy and just exploring new opportunities. So that's how I kind of de-stress. I take a step back, I go to the gym and try to just maintain my happy baseline.
How do you prepare for upcoming projects? Like, is there a process? I know you said you're a Virgo and you're very detailed and organized, but is there a specific process that you have before you approach a project?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it depends what it is, if it's what kind of content, because if it's something very small, like a music video, commercial, a short educational type of like video, especially like for social media, it's probably a lot less budgeting, prep, and breakdown that it needs. But those are easy. Like I think after doing it for 10 plus years, you can kind of do it in your sleep, especially when you know like immediately who to call and source the camera, find a location, let's go. Doesn't require much prep. Physically, mentally, I'm just always, like I said, trying to stay strong and flexible, both in my body and in my mind. And then when it comes to feature films, I think any producer, like after you do it 10, 20, 30 times, you kind of develop your own little structure of spreadsheets and just like little nicknames that you give. I break down the script usually myself first. I create a working document and I just put everything. I have my categories. I do characters, locations, and then I have I don't want to swear, but it's basically the third one is other stuff where I put everything that's going to be costly, like dead bodies or special effects, blood, car crashes, fire, water, all those kinds of things. So after I just break down the script in those three basic categories, I can kind of like in my head say, okay, I think this is how much it's going to cost. And then I pull in my line producer and we start scouting. I love locations. Probably my favorite part about pre-production is finding the right locations. I think because I'm kind of a little bit of a loner, a location scout is something that you can do alone, which is really nice. I just get in the car and then just start driving around, and then I'm like, oh, okay, that can be our diner. This can be our bridge. Most scripts kind of have the same amount of locations. There's always like a cafe and a police station, things of that nature. But I like scouting Los Angeles and just finding best hidden little spots and make it into our creative world. But yeah, it's becoming more and more difficult to shoot here because a lot of productions just left to different states where the tax credit program is better and you can get a little bit of your budget back. Um, Union drama that was unfolding. Don't want to sound dismissive, but if you just take all emotions out of it, production wise, you want to see your city thrive and you want everyone to be busy. And when it goes very slow and down, the way it did a few times over the last couple of years, is just sad. But I kind of like to always keep going and explore. And we've moved to Mexico. We've shot in Turkey. We've just like, if it's going down and slow in LA, let's go somewhere else and just explore different territory and like prep and kind of always be ready to go.
You have to have that that adaptability, which is it's a strong quality. So I guess that's to my next question, as far as superpowers. If you had a multiple choice in regards to superpowers, which three superpowers would you choose for yourself?
I did not expect that question. That's very interesting. I think I remember thinking about it when I was like younger, teenage years, and I've always thought being able to like stop the time and just freeze everything would be nice when you can still walk around and like fix fix some things up maybe. Superpowers. Man, as a woman, when you start aging, like just having great hair would be nice, just luscious hair whenever you want. You're just ready to go. That would be nice. Just one flap and you're red carpet ready. That would be my number one. Um, Superpowers. Um, just health, something having to do with strength and health. I think it gives you a lot of that superpower feeling. I know that through workouts, because sometimes I can have a very stressful meeting planned and I do like a very intense workout in the morning and just nothing bothers you after that. You're sitting in that meeting that you were so worried about thinking, guys, I did an hour and a half in a sauna suit in the gym. This doesn't bother me anymore. Like I survived the gym today. So I think yeah, physical strength, like unbreakable physical strength would be nice. But I don't know. I think I'm blessed to have so much in my life. I don't want to jinx that by wishing for some superpowers. I really do think that I'm blessed with beautiful things, healthy parents and work that I have around me. Um, Very motivated, clear mind. So I just want to keep working on maintaining that. Yeah.
That's
And
pretty
hopefully
good.
that's my superpower eventually that we'll be able to say that.
So when it comes to your line of work in producing, if there were some young people watching this show and they had interest in being a producer, what would be some of the groundwork advice that you would give them as far as pursuing that career?
I think now that I have a little bit of experience looking back, I think it's really important to really approach it as a business. As creative as this field may be, in order to get a job lined up and perform well and deliver, you really have to have this business mindset, but also like 50-50, be willing and able to break the rules. Whatever the existing rules may be, I've heard so many things that was not supposed to do. Don't do this, don't do that. You have to email just like kind of weird structure that someone came up with and now you have to follow. And I think in order to stand out, sometimes you just have to really be um, proactive, like with me and you, right? Like you have to send a message or send an email, maybe less formal than people would expect, and just say, hey, um, I'm looking forward to potentially doing this with you. Like, is there anything I can do to set it up? Like, I've approached a lot of people like that, and I've gotten a lot from just that very like human level, basic conversational vibe, because it's great to have all these polished resumes and cover letters and follow these existing rules. But I think you have to, like you said, adaptability. You stand out when you try something new, when you approach people respectfully and professionally, but in a way where you're like, hey, I want to work with you. I want to do this. How do I proceed? So yeah, I think thinking about it as a business and really paying attention to legal boring aspects of production is very important. I'm a safety maniac. It bugs me how people don't think about it as much as I do, but maybe that's the Virgo in me. I definitely had no idea how legally um, regulatory complicated production is. And until somebody gets hurt on your set, you really don't think about it. You think, oh, okay, cameras, locations, like let's make it look nice. Until some piece of equipment falls on somebody's head or somebody slips on so many things have happened on our sets. And if you're not prepared, you're in trouble. And you should be responsible for that. So yeah, if you're a young producer and you don't know where to start, just start paying attention to the things that can cause someone else's health and safety. I think that's very important because you will get those job interviews after reading a script, and you'd be asked like, so what do you think? And it's really cool when a producer says, well, I think it's a great story, but you have this, and that in there. So we need a permit from fire department. We need these people to sign off. We need insurance that's going to cost extra because they're stunt performance. And so like, that kind of stuff. It's really nice to develop that skill when you can kind of scan the script for that and just be the party pooper in a meeting, but that's a very important aspect for me personally. So I would direct people to that. Just start paying attention to the law and where you are, and make sure that safety is really should be coming first always.
No, I think that's great advice. That's a great foundation for any entry, for those young people looking to be getting into the producer field. I guess the last couple questions is going to be around. I heard you mention things were a little slower in LA. So when things are slower, do the creative juices start flowing more? Do you self-create opportunities for yourself, or do you start collaborating with others? Like what happens in those moments of stifleness or when you're stuck? Because I myself, I create everything. There's a point where I want to get on every podcast and it wasn't happening fast enough, so I created one and invited all the cool people to my thing. So do you kind of go through that process as well, or what do you do?
I think that you generate energy by moving, like you have to constantly keep doing stuff. And just by doing that, you will kind of generate stuff around you and the right people will come about. I remember during COVID, I was selling masks. I have like, you just figure things out. I remember we just sourced a bunch of material we were printing it in Chatsworth here, and like straight up did a whole like startup business on masks for film sets. They were like labeled by department because we had to by law section like art department, camera, crew, talent. So we had these labeled masks for film people. So sometimes my like side ideas and businesses correlate with film. Sometimes they don't at all. I do go back to help my family and my dad with his stuff. Sometimes he has an apple orchard in Russia. So it's like completely different field. It has nothing to do with filmmaking. And then, yeah, myself, I do, I kind of I'm just interested in exploring what's out there, and I do have ideas and I write a lot. And then right now I'm developing a project for Los Angeles Airport that has absolutely nothing to do with anything producing, directing, or filmmaking. It's very like business, boring construction, LAX. Like it's something that I just came up with pretty much in my sleep and started exploring, and now I'm meeting with like the construction development team at the Los Angeles International Airport. Um, so yeah, things like that. You never know where the path will take you, but I think you have to, it's very important to take steps always, constantly, because things just die if you don't move. I don't like stagnancy. Yeah, you got to put yourself out there, explore any idea, fail, 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 get rejected. But it's a beautiful process.
It is a beautiful process because sometimes, from those shortcomings, you learn so much about yourself. And looking at the obstacles, now you can look at those as opportunities because you got so much from it. So I always appreciate that mindset. Could you tell like everyone where they can follow you at, and where your Instagram, Twitter, or is there a website? Like, let them know where they can stay in touch with you or reach out to you or follow you.
I am probably the best these days is Instagram. It's Kate dot Tumanova, so just my first and last name, with the dot in between. And I think that's just the best way to reach me. I'm always on there. I try to post constantly when we have pre-production. I always ask the people who are like around me first that we're doing something. If it's casting, I post it on Instagram that we're looking for a certain type of an actor or an actress, or when we are getting crewed up and hiring people, I always like to extend it first to kind of like the closest friends and family, um, before it goes out there and we just find strangers, which is also good. And there's a lot of talented people, but I'm on Instagram a lot. I use it as a tool. Like going back to your previous question, um, there you can do so much with just an Instagram page. Even when your filmmaking career is on the lower side and it's slow in LA, whatever hobby you have, you can definitely monetize it these days with just a social media, TikTok, Instagram. There's so many different marketing strategies and hacks that you can do. It's even hard to grasp for me. I'm 34. I think like younger people are even better and faster, but I see it and I think we should all use it. I think you got to be out there. There's no need to keep it super private. I'm not that kind of person or producer. I like to just, if I get a message, I respond. If my phone rings, I pick up the phone. And if I can't, I just don't. But I like to communicate. And I think communication is, yeah, very important. So if anyone wants to reach me, I'm around.
No, that's fantastic. Well, I want to say thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I appreciate it. And also, once we start doing the in-person ones in LA, I'm actually working with a group out there now where I'm gonna do like a podcast tour. So it's gonna be like a day where I do like 10 podcast shows. So I definitely let you know in advance, and I'm gonna do the behind the scenes of it as well. So maybe we can collaborate on something like that as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Kate. It's great to meet you. It's great following you, and we'll continue to build.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Until next time.